Hello, and welcome to our show, Crooked Doctors.
Crooked Doctors, people.
Today is Friday, November
30, the end of the month.
2012.
Yes.
And I want to make, I got a couple questions from a law enforcement agency.
Did you?
So I'm going to answer them. And we have a couple federal judges looking at the answers to these questions. So in this show, we're going to get down and dirty, fast and furious,
Sure.
and we're presenting litigation points because this is not really a TV show.
It is not.
We're broadcasting live.
Sure.
Most people who come to MNN are seeking to launch entertainment show business careers.
Exactly.
That's not our purpose. Our purpose, like the individuals in Red China and other totalitarian repressive governments, is we've got a corrupt court system.
We do.
And we're getting shut out and victimized and harmed by the corrupt court system. There's only a few means of control in this court system.
And they are?
Well, you control the judge.
I see.
You control your attorney.
Sure.
You control the clerks. And more or less you can, well, not more or less, you can manufacture any false record you want.
A transcript.
You can falsify, the transcript is controlled by a court reporter who we all think that this has the security of Fort Knox. It doesn't. A court reporter will take a transcript, take it home, type it up in her living room.
Sure.
And get paid for it. So
absolutely.
The transcript is easily tampered with.
Yep.
In fact, we have anecdotal, outrageous stories of how transcripts can be, the keywords and phrases are changed in transcripts.
Yep.
That's why a recommendation to us was if you ever have to go to court, make sure you bring your family, your friends, neutral, objective
witnesses,
observers, have them in the courtroom, have them with great big legal pads.
Sure.
You can go to
take notes.
You can go to the dollar store, and for a couple dollars you can get these great big legal pads. You don't hide this from the judge. You say, Your Honor, you see the people with the legal pads, they're taking notes.
Yes.
And this was very effective in one case where a few friends that we were helping were facing felony criminal charges. Prosecution was prepared to put them in jail for up to 4 years. But for the fact that every time they went to court, they had people in the courtroom with great big legal pads, and sure enough, in one of their hearings, the judge misspoke, and one of the people in the courtroom raised their hand and said, "Pardon me, Your Honor, but that's not correct. I have it right here in the notes that I'm taking." And all the other note takers said, "Yes, that's true, Your Honor. With great respect, you've made an error here." The judge started shaking. He admitted that he misspoke and he made an error. Ultimately, after going to court a number of times, these felony charges that were going to put these people in jail for 4 years were dropped to a fine, a violation, which is like a parking ticket, like a $100 fine. So the way to protect yourself against... Oh, let's take a caller.
Who's calling?
Hello, welcome to our show.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
So you have a question or comment you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, you're talking about Crooked Doctors?
Yes, we are.
Oh, yeah. Last time I went to the doctor's, he asked me to bend over, and then he grabbed my balls, and he tried to rape me.
I'm really sorry to hear that. Call the licensing board, and if you call the health department, you can make a complaint through the licensing board. So if the the prosecutors won't help you, then you go to the licensing boards, and you can drive a hearing through the licensing boards.
But the funny thing is, I actually enjoyed it.
Okay,
I loved it when he sent me over his desk.
That's another story, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for your comment.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate your calling. Thanks.
All right,
okay, so we got a couple questions from law enforcement,
and
I'm going to answer those questions now. The Crooked Doctors, do you want to take this call?
I don't know. It's the same guy?
I know. Let's see here. Thank you for calling our show. Do you have a question or comment?
Yes.
Yes, same guy.
Thank you for calling our show. Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to find out how I can go about suing a particular doctor for an operation I had. I didn't want it in the first place. And
okay, what you can do is you can call the health department. You can file a complaint through their licensing boards. And there's a number of different things that you could do. I hate to say this, but you're going to have to talk to an attorney because we're not giving out legal advice. We're not licensed to practice law in the state of New York, and we unfortunately had to learn a lot of law in our cases to protect ourselves.
Sure.
And when the court system shut us down, we're using this broadcasting as an alternate court system.
Sure.
The court system is very corrupt, and there are a few key places, points of control that we've learned to protect ourselves. So I'll tell you what, I've got an email called CrookedDoctors@yahoo.com. Send me an email, and I'll send you my telephone number, and we can chat after the show. Is that okay?
okay, thank you.
So just send me CrookedDoctors@yahoo.com. I'll check the email. Send me your phone number, and I'll tell you a few things that you can do to advocate for yourself. All right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So the Crooked Doctors that I'm talking about are at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University. They lied. This is a very dangerous school.
Sure.
And the first lie that they told, I'm going to go over this.
Your law enforcement.
Yeah, the law enforcement question. Okay, on page 364 of my criminal trial transcript, these crooked doctors at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University went down to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and they pressed false criminal charges against me. So on page 364 of my criminal trial transcript, they had to stipulate, which means they agreed, that there was absolutely no support for my required research project.
Yeah.
Let's see who's calling.
Hello?
Oops. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Welcome to our show.
Am I on the air?
Yes, sir, you are.
How we doing?
We're good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Did you have a question or a comment?
I have more of a question.
Okay, question away.
What'd you say?
Please ask your question.
What?
Please ask your question.
What question?
You called and claimed you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
What was your question?
Okay, why don't you call us back when you've organized your thoughts?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Hold on. Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What was your question, though?
All right, thank you for
All right,
calling.
thank you very much,
All
sir.
right, so,
All right.
I'm
So
gonna-
law enforcement.
okay,
Let's get
so
on to that.
all right,
We're
so
listening.
we'll let the calls go for a little
All
bit.
right, sure.
Okay, so on page 364 of my
Good.
criminal trial transcript, I'm going to change the camera view so we can all look at this. This is page 364 of my criminal trial transcript, and I'm going to read this along. This was a stipulation that was agreed to by all parties, and it's from Dr. Rennie. This is Dr. William P. Rennie. He is an emergency medicine doctor at Long Island Jewish Medical Center. We have a caller, but we got to get through some of this
We got to
information.
get through. We'll never get through. Go
So
ahead.
I'm going to quote from the stipulation. There was absolutely no support for her project, contrary to the College of Medicine's promises that they support student research 100%.
Right.
Okay. Now on page 363, we've got Dr. Rennie, who says that this was a required research project. So I'm just going to go up a little bit and get. This is page 363 of my criminal trial transcript. And if you email me at CrookedDoctors CrookedDoctors@yahoo.com, I can email this to you and you can have your own copy. So this is Dr. William Rennie, and this is part of his stipulation that everybody agreed to. A stipulation is facts that everybody agrees to.
Sure.
As part of her required graduation project. So you see these words, required graduation project?
Yep.
That means I could not graduate without doing this project. And subsequently, what I'm going to show the audience is that at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, my transcript, my academic transcript, has been falsified.
Sure.
As part of the codes, rules, and regulations, the compilation of the codes, rules and regulations in the state of New York. My academic transcript has to be accurate and up to date, a reporting of my accumulated student achievement. It's not. So
It's not.
just as a point right here, this is my required graduation project. I could not graduate without doing it. And I was promised, on page 364, you're going to see this, when I was a prospective student,
Yes.
that if I came to the school, this medical school, they would support student research 100%.
Okay.
Okay, so this is particularly important because this is a requirement for graduation.
Yep.
So without supporting your research project, what are you, slave labor?
Right.
You know, there are protections against involuntary servitude.
Yeah.
As a constitutional issue. So right here, there was absolutely no support for her project, contrary to the College of Medicine's promises that they support student research 100%. Now this is vitally important information for every pre-med, and it's also important because the school has committed fraud. And what they've done is they've misrepresented the nature of their school to prospective students in violation of 34 CFR section 668.71b, and I'll show you those statutes in a minute. So the school has stipulated they admitted to fraud in the administration of federal student loans. When the school accepts money from the government, they administer federal student loans. Your student loans go to pay for your education, and there are certain rules and regulations and laws, federal statutes, that the school has to comply with. So when they misrepresent to prospective students like me that they will support student research 100%, they stipulated at my criminal trial in 2010 that they committed fraud in the administration of federal student loans. I do not need a finding by a judge. I do not need a judicial determination because the school stipulated to fraud, to misrepresentation in the administration of federal student loans.
That's right.
A stipulation means the judge agrees, the prosecutor agrees, and I and my attorney agree. So everybody agreed to this fact, that the school committed fraud in the administration of federal student loans. Once the school admits to fraud in the administration of federal student loans, the school has these programs like the Federal Stafford Loan Program, both subsidized and unsubsidized, has these programs revoked forever, and there's absolutely no way for the school to regain eligibility.
That's right.
Why? Because the federal government has had it. They are laying down the law. They have been subjected to every scam, and now when a school commits fraud, they remove the program, and there is no way to regain eligibility.
That's right.
There are other consequences for the school committing fraud, which I'll get to later. But basically, if the school cannot administer federal student loans, effectively, I can shut down the school.
You're out of business.
Now, the lie that the school told, because they're backpedaling, is, oh, Lydia Radin is sour grapes because she applied for support. She just didn't get it. That's not true, because I'm going to read the rest of this. So Lydia Radin discussed with Dr. Rennie. Now we're going on to page 365. We're going from page 364 of my criminal trial transcript. There was absolutely no support for her project, contrary to the College of Medicine's promises that they support student research 100%. And then this is the rest of the stipulation going on to page 365. From page 364 to page 365, Lydia Radin discussed with Dr. Rennie that she was worried because the patient interviews, I was interviewing patients, were going very long and in depth because she was talking to patients about death.
Right.
Okay. One of the most difficult subjects. Lydia Radin discussed with Dr. Rennie the need for her having the ability to reach out to a psychiatrist on behalf of the patients she was caring for, and Dr. Rennie said no, and there was no support for Ms. Radin.
Right.
Ms. Radin. Not only was there no inside support for Lydia Radin, but Ms. Radin was also unable to get outside support, such as being allowed to seek grants to support her work.
Is that true?
That's absolutely true. They would not allow me to apply for federal work study money. I just want to read this again. So the way the school is backpedaling is they're saying right now they've started a rumor, or they've started a disinformation campaign, and the school has deliberately ignored their stipulation. And their stipulation said, not only was there no inside support for Lydia Radin, but Ms. Radin was also unable to get outside support, such as being allowed to seek grants to support her work. Now, I asked if I could apply for federal work study money.
And what happened?
They refused to let me apply for federal.
And the reason?
They didn't have a reason. They lied. They were persecuting me.
Okay.
This is discrimination. I had minority student status at the school. Now, federal work study money is supposed to be, what you do is you put in an application, and then the amount of federal work study money is supposed to be divided equally and equitably among all eligible students. I was eligible.
Okay.
They fabricated, made up a reason years later, claiming that Yeshiva University had spent all its money and they had run out of federal work study money. Okay, that's not true.
Okay.
Major universities like Yeshiva University, you know, that's a next door neighbor to Columbia University, they're well funded. There's plenty of access to federal work study money. That money was supposed to be put in place so that students like me could develop work experiences to help them get a job. For me, that would have been working as a medical doctor. And I had negotiated my own contracts under the Federal Work Study Program, which you can do if you find a place you want to work, like Long Island Jewish Medical Center, and you want to be compensated enough so you can buy yourself lunch and pay for your traveling expenses, which is certainly reasonable.
Absolutely.
The school had provided transportation for students, and I was able to access some of that transportation, not all. Third-year students are provided with meal coupons so that if you're doing your clinical rotations at Long Island Jewish Medical Center, you can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Sure.
Okay, they refused me meal coupons.
Okay.
When I tried to negotiate a federal work study grant, I was told no. So again, that's in violation of the federal laws, the federal statutes that govern administration.
Yes, it is.
Of federal work study money. And the way that the program is administered is everybody puts in an application, and then that money is divided equally and equitably among all eligible students.
Okay.
So Yeshiva University lied, they persecuted me. A research, I was told in the application process that if I came to their school, and they made a number of promises. One of their promises was, we support student research 100%, and they stipulated at criminal trial, they agreed, Dr. Rennie came forward in a stipulation, and everyone agreed that there was absolutely no support for my graduation research project, of which I had several, by the way. The one I was doing for Dr. Rennie, and all my projects were not supported. That's illegal. And the school, when I started broadcasting, the school got horribly embarrassed. They claimed they wouldn't sue me for defamation because I was judgment-proof.
They would not sue you?
They claimed they would not sue me for defamation because I was judgment-proof.
Isn't that in your favor?
It is in my favor, but it's also a lie. And they claimed they weren't going to sue Bill for telling the truth because he was judgment-proof. Again, that's a lie. The reason we're not being sued for defamation is because the truth is a complete defense to a charge of defamation.
Oh, I get it.
Bill and I are telling the truth.
Yes, we are.
And if we make a mistake, if we misspeak, there's no actual malice in anything we're saying.
Absolutely.
We might make a misstatement, but then the school or anyone can email us, call us. We make, we're certainly not
staying corrected.
Yeah, and we can correct that. And once in a while, because we're trying to get an enormous amount of information out quickly in a number of different cases because people are being harmed, we might actually make a misstatement. We'll correct it.
It's human error.
But the bottom line is, the Albert Einstein College of Medicine knew what it was doing. It knew what it was doing was wrong. It did it with actual malice. And I've just presented an answer to a law enforcement agency.
Which one? Did I hear that? Did you say that? What did you say?
On page 364 of my criminal trial transcript, there was absolutely no support for my research, my required graduation project.
I see.
Which means I couldn't. I had a choice of either involuntary servitude, working as a slave, in order to graduate, or if there's no support for my graduation project, I can't graduate.
Right.
Okay, so the school is creating obstacles to my graduation. They're doing it deliberately. They're doing it maliciously. They're doing it with hate.
Sure.
I was targeted for expulsion, and I was granted minority student status at the school.
We know that, yeah.
Not for racial reasons, but for social economic reasons.
Sure.
So let me try to make this as simple as possible.
Go ahead.
Page 364 of my criminal trial transcript, there was absolutely no support for Lydia Radin's project.
Good.
Contrary to the College of Medicine's promises that they support student research 100%.
Okay.
This is important consumer information for every pre-med out there, and I will start public speaking about it. You know, where the school lies to recruit you. And then on then when I started broadcasting, they floated this disinformation campaign saying, "Oh, she applied for stuff, she didn't get it. It's sour grapes."
Well, and that's not true.
That's not true because we've got Dr. Rennie's stipulation on page 365 of my criminal trial transcript. There was no internal support for my project. There were internal grants that I could have applied for. I was told no, and they would refuse to let me to go to the grants office for outside grants.
Okay.
They refused to give me meal coupons like they gave third-year students. They refused to let me write my own contract to the Federal Work-Study Program. And I went to Dr. Rennie, and I remember distinctly because we discussed this. I said, you know, if they're going to pull all this, I can negotiate my own contract under the Federal Work-Study Grant Program. The federal government will provide a portion of my salary.
Okay.
I'll work for a limited amount of time, like, you know, I'll ask for like 20 hours a week.
Is this work study?
Yeah, Federal Work Study.
I see.
And Dr. Rennie, your obligation to paying this little job that I'll develop for myself under the Federal Work Study Program will be a few dollars, way under minimum wage. It'll be like $2 or $3 an hour at most. I know, Dr. Rennie, that you hire students to do research because Dr. Robert Silverman, as the research director, had hired 2 or 3 students who are not medical school students who were working on research projects, and I had, with great respect, outperformed them because I was on track to be a principal author on 3 to 5 original clinical research papers, for which Dr. Rennie's name would have been on, Dr. Robert Silverman's name would have been on it, the chairman of the department would have gotten his name on it. Anybody who wanted to do good work on this project could have earned authorship. And Long Island Jewish Emergency Medicine Department would have gotten credit for this good work. Long Island Jewish Hospital Medical Center would have gotten credit for this work. My school would have gotten credit for all this good work. So there was money available.
Well, they missed the boat. Is that what's going on?
They harassed me. They persecuted me.
And they missed a great integrity process for themselves. I mean, in the process. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, also good.
Amazing.
And one aspect of my research was that I was speaking honestly and truthfully to patients about a very difficult subject. And Jacobi Hospital was scared to death to do this project because they said it was too controversial and that we would get attacked as the medical profession.
Well, that's part of the job.
and we should not be truthful and honest with patients about what we were doing. And they were scared, and Long Island Jewish Medical Center said no. We can do this project even though it's controversial. And I handled things so well that there was never a patient complaint about me. And in fact, my then attorney, Mr. James Daw, was trying to bring out the fact that patients complimented me and lauded my work. So now, we got to get on to, I know there are people calling. I apologize.
But we got to get this done, Lydia, so let's focus here.
Okay, so now, another law enforcement agency, a law enforcement agency asked me another question.
What agency was that?
I can't tell you.
All right, she can't tell, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so they wanted to see how John Scarfone had lied, and they were making excuses about John Scarfone lying. And there's something I have to say this law enforcement agency, 36 federal judges can and will be removed from the bench. Now,
that's incredible.
No, that's has to be done.
Yeah, all right, well, go ahead. Continue.
Okay. It was a little too much for him to wrap his mind around because he's coming late to this. So in a tape-recorded conversation that I can, if I choose to do so, put on the internet, definitely 4 federal judges got to go, Judge Patterson and the 3 appeals judges. And I'm going to put together the big picture. But
Okay.
these
You're going to
judges,
do it now?
well, first I'm going to answer their question.
Right, sure.
So I'm going to go through a few little details, and then I'm going to go to the big picture.
Okay.
So to remind everybody, let me change the camera view. We're looking at, this is John Scarfone
Right.
in federal court in the Marlene Abramova case
Yeah.
in 2006. Went into federal court and law, and I'm just trying to pick out like the easiest to understand. If you're out there in the audience and you're coming new to this,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pick out some examples, and there will be new examples.
Yeah, update the latecomers.
For those of you who have seen this like 12,000 times and are bored already, trust me, I got all kinds.
Down, yeah.
No, I got new examples.
Oh,
okay.
oh.
So this was in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in the Marlene Abramova case. This is from the appendix, and I submitted it in my case too. And again, if you send me an email at crookeddoctors.yahoo.com, I can send this to you.
Okay.
This was submitted in my case. This is part of my reply motion.
Right.
And this was an exhibit in my case also. So the Second Circuit Court of Appeals had this document. And what I was named, in 2006, I was named as a witness against the school.
Okay.
And they tried to discredit me, and they said, in fact, Dr. Olson's anatomy course is the only class Miss Radin passed during her first year of medical school. Okay,
Good.
that's a lie. And this is a document from, this is page
266?
This is page 368
368, right.
of my criminal trial transcript. The Crooked Doctors, mostly Dr. Canale,
Right.
the Crooked Doctor at Elmhurst Hospital in Queens, had this. This is page 368 of my criminal trial transcript. And 368, and I wrote some notes here that this was available, this transcript was available, not only could I provide it, but Robert Kozowski, who is part of a watchdog group at the Nassau County Civic Association, had this criminal trial transcript by email, and you could call him at, and have it emailed to you.
You want to give a number?
Well, it's here. The reason why I'm showing this is because Elmhurst Hospital, Dr. Canale, Michelle Canale, this is the trial transcript. I had this with me to show her. Dr. Canale is a crooked, dishonest doctor.
Okay.
And I said, and I presented this to her. And right here it says, Lydia Radin did not fail his ICM class. Now, Dr. Blau was one of my professors in medical school, and he gave a stipulation in 2010. This is part of his stipulation. And when the school said in 2006 that I failed all my classes as a first-year medical school student, okay, I had Dr. Blau stipulate at criminal trial transcript, and criminal trial, this is page 368 of the criminal trial transcript, that I did not fail his ICM class. ICM is Introduction to Clinical Medicine.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to put this all together for you in the big picture.
Right.
Because here's the big...
Are you going to do it now?
Yes, I'm going to do it now.
Go ahead.
Okay, so here's the big picture.
Okay.
So this is the big picture that law enforcement needs to see. There was no probable cause for my arrest.
Okay.
There was no probable cause for, and by the way, opposing counsel, I'm suing Dr. Michelle S. Canale at Elmhurst Hospital for defaming me as her patient. I'm not. And I'm suing Elmhurst Hospital right now, and Michelle S. Canale had this information available to her. She ignored it to defame me.
Right.
So I'm going to show you how the big picture all goes together. Okay. So I'm in medical school, and Dr. Blau is. Let me make this a little bigger.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you how these crooked doctors at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine lie. All right. So in 1994 to 1996, I am a medical school student. This is my first year of medical school.
Right.
And Dr. Blau is a small group leader.
Got it.
And he's teaching Introduction to Clinical Medicine.
Right.
And that's Dr. Stephen Blau. Okay. And Introduction to Clinical Medicine has Module A, Module B, Module C, Module D.
Right.
Once again, one of these classes was deliberately left off on my academic transcript. This is Ethics and Medical Statistics.
Right.
That's missing from my academic transcript.
All right.
So my academic transcript has been falsified, and I'll get into those details in a minute.
Sure.
So Dr. Blau, this is my first year of medical school, 1994 to 1995, reports my passing grades to Jimmy David. Okay,
Right.
Jimmy David is the co-director of the class.
Right.
So Jimmy David is a dishonest psychiatrist. He's a crooked doctor. He stalks me through life, telling horrible lies about me. I was named as a witness against him in 2006.
Yes.
In 2009, 3 years later, he pressed false criminal charges against me,
Right.
and claiming he was annoyed because I contacted him to say, Dr. David, when John Scarfone went into federal court in the Abramova case in 2006, and he submitted an affidavit and he claimed I failed all my classes as a first-year medical school student, you know that's a lie. It's your job, Dr. David, to me. You owe me a legal duty because it was my tuition dollars and the monies that I brought into the school in the form of state TAP grants and federal Pell grants and federal student loans that paid your salary, Dr. David. So you are not supposed to be sanctioning and endorsing the lies that John Scarfone, an attorney, associate general counsel, told. Jimmy David has a legal duty and obligation to me, the student, to tell the truth.
Right.
He didn't. He lied.
He did. Okay.
Okay. Now, Jimmy David, after 2006, was a witness against me in 2009. He's a crooked doctor. He's a liar. He needs to have his license to practice medicine revoked, which is what we're going to do.
All right.
Dr. Stephen Blau also reported my passing grades to my promotions committee. Okay. Sitting on my promotions committee is Todd Olson.
Well, what is he, Todd Olson?
He's a PhD. Thank you for that question, Bill. I appreciate that. Bill's a great guy. I love having Bill on.
All right, go ahead. Let's hear it.
We make a great team.
Oh, yeah, Abbott and Costello. All
No.
right, no, go ahead.
As in Brave Old Army Team, which is part of the music that I use.
We do,
yes.
okay.
So my passing grades were reported to the promotions committee. Okay, Todd Olson was on my promotions committee. He's a PhD in anatomy. He is not a medical doctor. They try to give this false impression that he prescribed counseling for me in my first year when my classmates wanted to cheat, as if he were a doctor. He's not a doctor.
He's not.
No, he's a PhD in anatomy. Word on the street is he couldn't get into a medical school, and he finally got into a foreign medical school. He couldn't cut it, so they cooled out his career by giving him a PhD in anatomy. And he's had a chip on his shoulder ever since. Okay. Dr. Olson sat on my promotions committee. Okay. So when I contact Dr. Olson and say, Dr. Olson, I need your help. I need for you to verify that, I did not fail all my classes as a first-year medical student.
Right.
Todd Olson pressed false criminal charges against me. It was his job, his legal duty.
Yes, it was.
To be truthful and forthcoming. John Scarfone lied in 2006 when he submitted an affidavit in federal court that said Miss Radin failed all her classes except for my anatomy class. Okay, that's not true.
All right.
Todd Olson was named as so I'm named as a witness against John Scarfone.
Yeah.
And Todd Olson was supposed to be truthful and forthcoming. He didn't. He lied in 2009 and in 2010, claiming that I was annoying him as an aggravated harassment.
I remember that, yeah.
Because, and for this, I was railroaded into Rikers and almost murdered.
Yeah.
Now, in 2006, again, John Scarfone goes into federal court and lies in the Abramova case. Michael J. Reichgott was my dean of students. He also sat on my promotions committee. So my passing grades are reported to my dean, the dean for students, Michael Reichgott, and the promotions committee. So when John Scarfone, and he's associate general counsel of Yeshiva University, says that in 2006, when he lied in the Abramova case, I failed all my classes as a first-year medical school student. That wasn't true. In 2010, they had to admit their guilt. Now, these are the complaining witnesses against me. Dan Rozelle of Sive, Paget, and Rozelle. He lied in oral argument in 2005 in Judge Patterson, in Federal Judge Patterson, Robert P. Patterson's courtroom. He lied when he said, I got 2 hearings before I was expelled. That's not true. And when challenged, he had to admit, first he changed his story to say, okay, well, she got 1 hearing, and then finally in 2010 he changed his story again when he was asked in my criminal trial, and it's in the transcript, well, how many hearings did Miss Radin get? I don't know. So Dan Rozelle, when confronted with the truth, changes his story. This is the complaining witnesses you got against me. Detective Cologne did no investigation. There was no probable cause. And the reason why Detective Cologne did not do, from the 34th Precinct, NYPD, the reason why he didn't do an investigation is because his notes and all the work that he did would have been discoverable. So in order to try to make it seem that he did an investigation when he did not, Detective Cologne had no probable cause for my arrest. Dan Rozelle lied. Had Detective Cologne asked me about this, I would have told him and he would have had plenty of evidence. John Scarfone is Associate General Counsel of Yeshiva University. In 2006, as I said, I was named as a witness in the Marlene Abramova case. John Scarfone had a retaliatory motive against me since 2006 because I demonstrate that he's an attorney who lies. He will be disbarred. So in 2009 and 2010, Scarfone lied, and they had to admit guilt. They changed their story in the pre-sentencing investigative report. And they testified, in effect, without giving me the benefit of cross-examination in violation of my constitutional rights. Now, Michael J. Reichgott was my dean of students. He sat on my promotions committee. My passing grades were reported to him. He owes a legal duty to me. He's a liar and a crooked doctor. He needs to have his license to practice medicine revoked. Todd Olson. My passing grades were reported to Dr. Olson. He sat on my promotions committee. He was also, I was named against, in 2006 in the Abramova case, I was also named as a witness against him. Dr. Jimmy David, James David, or Jimmy David. I was also named as a witness against Jimmy David in the 2006 Abramova case. He's a liar. So these are the complaining witnesses against me, and they lied in 2009. These witnesses have had a retaliatory motive against me since 2006 at least. So when they made false criminal charges against me in 2009, Detective Cologne should have asked me, and I can demonstrate that they had a retaliatory motive against me since 2006, but even before. So here's the big picture, and we're going to take a look at this. And I want to get this down to 1 page. And again, if you want to email me at CrookedDoctors@yahoo, I will email this to you. But an ICM class, Introduction to Clinical Medicine, I was a full-time student through 1994 to 1995. There was a class I was required to take, Introduction to Clinical Medicine. It had several parts, Module A, Module B, Module C, Module D. Module D was deliberately omitted from my academic transcript. I got honors on my ethics paper, and I did well in medical statistics. I believe I got an 85 on the exam. And they kept this, anything that showed I was doing well, they deliberately kept off my academic transcript in violation of the codes, rules, and regulations of the state of New York. The compilation of codes, rules, and regulations in the state of New York. So my academic transcript has been falsified. I'll show you that. So in 1994 to 1995, I'm taking Introduction to Clinical Medicine. My passing grades from Dr. Blau and from other professors are reported to Jimmy David. He's the co-director of the class.
Yeah.
So in 94 to 95, Jimmy David knows I'm passing ICM class, and my passing grades are reported to the promotions committee, Todd Olson and Michael J. Reichgott, who sit on my promotions committee. The purpose of the promotions committee is to determine whether a medical school student can move from one section of the curriculum to the next.
Right.
Michael J. Reichgott is also the dean of students, so my passing grades are reported to him.
Right.
So after 1994 to 1995, in 2006, when other students are calling me and naming me as a witness against the school,
Right.
John Scarfone goes into federal court and he lies. And in an attempt to discredit me, and then also in an attempt to create more lies, to justify the lies in my financial information, which I'll get to probably next week, he claims that I failed all my classes as a first-year medical student except for Todd Olson's anatomy class, and that's not true.
Okay.
John Scarfone is internal counsel. And so what you're saying here is that Yeshiva University, its associate counsel, John Scarfone, is repeating the lies that Martin Bockstein, general counsel, put in his mouth.
Right.
The keeper of the records, and I'm not stupid, the keeper of the records, law enforcement agency, who quoted this, the keeper of the records, is the registrar. The registrar is supposed to confirm whether I passed or failed, not John Scarfone as a dishonest, lying attorney. Dan Rozelle of Sive, Paget, and Rozelle also lied in 2009. Scarfone, Reichgott, Olson, David, these are the complaining witnesses against me, and I was named as a witness against them in 2006.
Sure.
So in 2009, there was no probable cause. In 2008, we had gone to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and I want to show you the really big picture. Do you have any questions, or do you understand this?
No. I'm following. The really big picture is what here?
And the reason why I have Bill here is because Bill is like your man on the street. So if he can follow it, anybody can follow it.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So here's your really. Oh, by the way, you can also cross-check, and I want to show this. This is my first-year curriculum.
Right.
Okay, so I went to Fort Knox. I met with Colonel Kevin C. Riley.
Right.
Kevin Riley is a friend of mine. I went to Fort Knox, and I had him confirm. So you can cross-reference the lies and the email.
Yeah.
And there's also a letter that John Scarfone sent to a state guarantee agency that I can reference. But this is the first-year curriculum. And what you'll see is here's the clinical selective. That's the ICM class. Let me enlarge this a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so right here, ICM, Introduction to Clinical Medicine, Introduction to the Patient, Clinical Selective, I did at Hebrew Home for the Aged, Epidemiology and Social Medicine, so epidemiology is medical statistics, Ethics, the ethics class was deliberately left out. Okay, this does not appear, epidemiology, social medicine, and ethics does not appear on my transcript. Psychopathology, okay, was also part of ICM class, okay? And they claimed, out of 14 classes, I only failed 3 classes my first year. I failed biochemistry, human embryology, and I failed biochemistry, embryology, and genetics. So genetics is a minor class. Human embryology is a minor class. They just spread it out because it's spread out as in it's concomitant with class with human anatomy. There are parts of human anatomy and development that you will learn about concomitantly with embryology. So embryology is considered a minor class, genetics is considered a minor class, biochemistry is considered a major class. So I failed 1 major class and 2 minor classes. Had I not been so mismanaged and harassed as a first-year medical student, I probably wouldn't have failed anything. I was not Janice Bennett's patient. So you can cross-reference to this, and Kevin C. Riley, Colonel Riley, is one of my witnesses, so I'm cross-referencing this a number of different ways. And yes, I can subpoena Kevin Riley, and Kevin Riley damn well going to tell the truth.
Right.
Otherwise, Riley, your man ain't going to follow you or take orders from you, you bum.
That's right. You're
so come forward voluntarily, you bum. I'll be calling you Riley. Riley knows I love him. Don't worry. I'm allowed to talk to him.
Okay.
Don't worry, Riley. I respect you. Unless you start lying, Riley. Okay. So here's the really big picture. And this is how it all goes together. We've got about 15 minutes left.
That's right.
This is the really big picture.
Really big. Go ahead.
Okay, and this is what you really need to know to pull everything together, to scale up from the details.
Absolutely.
Rita and Stanley Caslen are wealthy people. Okay, I worked for Rita and Stanley Caslen's, the Caslen Educational Centers. I worked for them for 5 years after my illegal expulsion.
Right.
With some of the work that I did for, and this is a Fortune 300 company, with some of the work that I did for Caslen Educational Centers, because I worked at their flagship store here in Manhattan at Cooper Square, I can demonstrate increased functioning.
Sure.
I was teaching, I held more than one position at this company. I was teaching students, I was doing sales and marketing. My sales and marketing plans were lauded and used for new hires to show that the work that experts do. They were used to show executive planning skills. Okay, so I could not possibly be schizophrenic if I'm showing increased functioning and executive planning skills.
Absolutely
okay,
not.
so. Rita and Stanley Caslen. Rita Caslen had helped Heidi Weissman. Heidi Weissman was a professor who had her career destroyed at Yeshiva University.
Yep.
We had contacted Heidi Weissman, and Rita Caslen was willing to help the Yeshiva Victims Group that I had put together.
That's right.
But she wanted more support. So we went and got support from Mark Green, a multimillionaire and a former public advocate here in New York. And we went and got help from Rabbi Abadi at the Safra Synagogue, and we got help from Mrs. Safra. So we had lots of important people involved. So Rita and Stanley Caslen give money or donations to Yeshiva University. Yeshiva University is tax exempt. Now that means more than just that this tax exempt organization doesn't pay taxes. It means that when donors give money, they get a benefit too.
Is it double dipping?
No, it's not really double dipping.
Okay, well, explain that. Go ahead.
If you're tax exempt, it's not like double dipping means you get paid twice.
Sure.
Rita and Stanley Caslen and other wealthy racist Zionists, and it's not anti-Semitic to tell the truth, are giving money to a tax-exempt organization, Yeshiva University.
Yeah, well, how is that illegal?
You're allowed. It's a 501.
You're allowed to do that. Okay,
yeah, you're a 501c corporation.
Right.
Okay, so if you're tax exempt, that means that your organization doesn't pay taxes, but the donors also get a benefit. Okay.
All right.
So when you donate to Yeshiva University, the donors get a benefit too.
Right.
So that means all the rich racist Zionists who donate to Yeshiva University that was found to discriminate on the basis of religion in the 1999 Diane Persky case. I don't need a finding. I mean, I don't need a judge to rule that Yeshiva University is racist and discriminatory, and everything they do also has the extra element of a hate crime.
Sure.
Because in 1999, Diane Persky sued. She is a conservative Jewish woman. Yes. She sued because her career was destroyed, like Heidi Weissman's career was destroyed, and like my career was destroyed. She sued for religious discrimination. She won.
Wow.
There was a finding that Yeshiva University discriminates on the basis of religion.
Oh,
its medical school is not a standalone medical school. The school has already admitted in papers that it filed in federal court that the medical school is a constituent of the mother university.
Yeah.
They lie and they say that the Albert Einstein College of Medicine is a standalone non-denominational school. That's a lie.
That's been debunked then.
Correct, and I debunked them.
Oh.
And the reason why they told that lie was because the medical school, is a cash cow for the university, and they bring in literally hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. So if you're a wealthy racist Zionist and you give money to Yeshiva University so you can get a benefit too, then you give money to the Democratic Party.
Of course.
Okay, so Rita and Stanley Caplan each donated at one point $10,000 to the Democratic Party.
Sure.
And then what happens is the Democratic Party uses that money to, for example, support the election campaign of prosecutors. So, for example, District Attorney Robert Morgenthau.
Yes.
Me and Mike Tyberg went to District Attorney Robert Morgenthau in 2008. And we said, look, we're victims of federal student loan fraud and other crimes. We talked to Assistant District Attorney Jonathan Lenzer. Okay, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office did not prosecute Yeshiva University. So Yeshiva University generates victims, but they're protected because the Democratic Party is the people who controls the prosecutors.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and all these rich people who donate to the school are protecting their tax exemption, their tax exempt organization, their tax shelter.
Yes.
So if Yeshiva University is given free license to victimize innocent people like me, we get no relief because this is a corrupt system, just like the corrupt Jim Crow South. Okay, this is what happened to black people in the South. They were oppressed. They could never get justice because the people responsible for law enforcement, like the district attorney's office and the courts, were protecting a corrupt racist system. And now we have that corrupt racist system in the Democratic North, and the Democratic Party can't take it. Okay, so we got the good old boys up here now.
The good old boys.
The Democratic Party also, District Attorney Vance, when he runs for re-election, okay, Mr. Vance has no plausible deniability. Now, Mr. Morgenthau, Robert Morgenthau, was drumming up support for Judge Sonia Sotomayor when he was elevating her from the Second Circuit Court of Appeals to the Supreme Court. She was used as a token to appeal to the Spanish vote here in New York. Okay, she was taken to Catholic schools, Roman Catholic schools, and it was sickening. That's why they tried to drop kick me into Rikers Island to shut me up, because I was challenging this. I'm saying this is a sham. Judge Sonia Sotomayor is being used as a token, just the way Lydia Radin was used as a token. So Robert Morgenthau wants to he wants to be seen as a person of influence in the Democratic Party, and he's taking Sonia Sotomayor around. She had worked for him. And he's taking around, he's showing her to all the Catholic schools so that he can get the Spanish vote. And he's saying, here's a poor woman from the Bronx who worked hard, who pulled herself up by her bootstraps. Right? It's garbage. Sonia Sotomayor was and this was just pandering to the Hispanic vote. And I keep asking Robert Morgenthau and D.A. Vance and other members of the Democratic Party, this is ridiculous. Yeshiva University is not a non-denominational school. They discriminate on the basis of religion. All the crimes that they commit are hate crimes. They've committed hate crimes against Javon Paddyar, Lydia Radin, Mike Tyberg, Marlene Abramova. I have a whole victims group here. But Mr. Vance and Mr. Morgenthau, where's the great big wall of separation of church and state?
Separation of church and state.
Where is that? You know,
not here.
You know, let me backtrack for a minute.
Go ahead.
In 1999, Yeshiva University was found to discriminate on the basis of religion. Now, decades before, in the Bob Jones University case, the Supreme Court had decided, had fabricated, made up, invented a ruling that said if you're a university and you discriminate, you're not charitable, therefore you should have your tax exemption revoked. Well, Yeshiva University was found to discriminate in the 1999 Diane Persky case. Why isn't Senator Grassley, why isn't Yeshiva University having its tax exemption revoked by the same standards that were applied in the Bob Jones case? So how come the federal government discriminates on an institutional scale? Now, in the Bob Jones University case, there were no victims.
There were
okay?
none, no.
And on our next show, I'm going to have to explain how that was just fabricated. Whether you like Bob Jones University or not,
Right.
the bottom line is there were no innocent victims of Bob Jones University. They did not deserve to have their tax exemption revoked.
Right.
But since we've set that standard, and since that happened, how come that standard doesn't apply to Yeshiva University?
Yeah.
Yeshiva University was found to discriminate on the basis of religion. And they're not having their tax exemption revoked.
Okay.
And the reason for that is you've got all these wealthy, racist Zionists contributing money to the Democratic Party. They're controlling the flow of information to our elected officials.
Right.
And we've seen this bill most recently when we went to New Jersey. Okay.
Where we go, Trenton?
We went to Trenton, and the elected officials at the Senate committee, the state Senate committee, for Community and Urban Affairs, were being lied to by the legislative aides, some of whom I believe are attorneys, and I can and will take them in front of their licensing boards, and they were being given false information. Are you listening, folks out there in New Jersey, law enforcement agency? The legislative aides to the senators were giving false information, claiming that we didn't need a new law. We're trying to get a new law passed wait, just let me finish, because we got 5 minutes left, or 3 minutes left.
Yeah,
We're trying to get a new law passed in New Jersey that would help tenants, and they were creating this fabricated
anti-eviction.
They were saying that the anti-eviction laws protected, and we didn't need this new law.
Redundant.
But that's not true. And so in our next show, I'm going to show how false information is being given to our elected officials to mislead them. And this is happening right now in New Jersey.
Right.
Now, also part of the Democratic Party in New Jersey is the Hudson County prosecutor, Ed DeFazio.
Yeah.
And part of his staff is Debbie Simon and Tracy McQuaid. Even more Democrats in New Jersey. I had gone to my congressman, and I had gone to Congressman Robert Menendez.
Right.
Congressman Robert Menendez was going to do something about Yeshiva University, because we were being shut out in New York because the Democratic Party would not prosecute the victims of Yeshiva University in New York. Robert Morgenthau refused to do it. Now, District Attorney Vance is part of this ongoing criminal conspiracy. So I said to our Yeshiva Victims Group, we'll go to New Jersey, okay? And we went to my congressman, was Robert Menendez's office. Robert Menendez. He's now Senator Menendez. And Patricia Waiters says that attorneys associated with U.S. Senator Robert Menendez have a hand in hurting her. We'll get to that later. But Robert Menendez was going to do something about this. Then he didn't. His office made phone calls. This is Gustavo. And I believe his last name is Adrianus, but I may have mispronounced it. But Gustavo made phone calls to Ed DeFazio and said, look, Miss Radin is a crime victim in the federal student loan program. This is happening in 2005. In May of 2005, Judge Patterson ruled against me. 1 month later, in June of 2005, I discovered the intentionally falsified promissory note. And I have ample information to show that my medical school has been engaged in federal student loan fraud for a long time. And when we went to Congressman Weiner's office, Congressman Weiner gave this information. We provided all this information. We went to the Bronx DA. So the Bronx DA's office wrote back to Congressman Weiner, and they gave false, misleading, and inaccurate information to mislead an elected official. Okay? So the big picture here is the wealthy Zionists who get a great big tax benefit by donating to this racist school control the Democratic Party. And I'm busting this up. That's why I'm key, and that's why they want me dead. And yes, okay, we're done.
Good.
All right.
Got a good one. Got it all in there. Really
well, I got enough.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next week we're
That
going
was important.
to get some of your stuff done.
That was good.
All right. Did you understand everything I did?
Yeah, and you did good, because